and welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce. I'm with the JP8 Report, reporting to you today. This is episode 38, entitled ERCOT. So we'll get in that in just a second. Just a friendly reminder, whichever way you're listening to my podcast, remember I'm on Rumble and YouTube and Podbean and many others. Always like it or subscribe to it. If you're on YouTube, you hit the little bell for notifications. On Rumble, make your Rumble account. There's a whole slew of different speakers on Rumble. Subscribe to it. You can comment. You can hit the little boxing gloves for rumbling and stuff. So just and then share it out. Spread the word. Okay. So this is episode 38. It's called ERCOT. ERCOT in Texas means the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. It's been around for a while, since World War II. There are three different electrical grids inside the United States, and about 90% of Texas belongs to ERCOT. I think it's far west Texas is the only part in the El Paso area that's not part of ERCOT. It's divided up, and as were. Let's see, how do we do this? So it was formed after World War II, and it was like a loose confederation of all different types of the electrical companies throughout the state of Texas. In 1970, they were joined, as I said earlier, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. In 1970, they were formed together, and they've been together ever since. The governor appoints all the board members to it. So with ERCOT, the way power is generated in the state of Texas, 51% of Texas is powered by natural gas. Almost 25% is wind. Coal is 13.4, nuclear is 4.9, solar is 3.8, and hydroelectric and biomass is 1.9. I don't know what biomass fired units are, but that's how they do that. And people have been asking about what happened in February here in Texas, with all the failure of the electrical grid we have here in Texas. A lot happened, and there's a lot of environmental considerations to take. Where in Texas we don't get extremely cold weather, so they were not winterizing all the facilities for like the windmills and stuff. And they were taken offline because they weren't being productive. But at the same time, other areas failed also. And when you get in 25% of your wind, 25% of your wind power from wind, and your turbines all stop, what do you do then? Well, they weren't ready, and it happened. And a lot of Texans went without power for several days to several weeks. So in the meantime, you're talking about a perfect storm. When bad things happen, politicians get together and they try to make it better, or that they can make it worse too. But in this fact, they were trying to make it better. The legislature only meets twice every 2 years. They had just convened like 3 weeks prior. So they had to expedite this stuff. Okay. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bills that were filed in the legislature dealing with ERCOT reform. Okay. And I'm going to show you them. Okay, there they are. Really good graph. Is made by the Republican caucus and here in the state of Texas. So if you see on the top, it's SB3, reorganization, how we reorganize how we manage our power grid. SB3 was signed by the governor on the 8th of June. Okay, it they made several reforms to prevent stuff like this happening again. But you've got to remember, it takes time to for change to happen. Even though you might be willing to think it should happen instantaneously. Nothing happens instantaneously. Okay, but as you see, SB3 is for reorganizing it. They made rules preventing lengthy rolling blackouts. That could be a bad thing because that was horrible. But all of a sudden, it's almost summer. We're 2 days away from summertime here in Texas, and so when you're looking at it, we've already got a warning from ERCOT saying that conserve energy, push your thermostats up to 78 degrees. Like, what happened? I thought all this would be fixed. We have the greatest natural resources in the entire country here in Texas. But one thing we forgot to consider was that there was 360,000 people move to Texas every year. Okay, that's about 100,000 homes every year. And when you're not building new power plants, the strain on the grid gets even more increased. So we have to be able to build more power plants. And you can't rely on wind. I look outside my house all day today, the wind's been calm. So you have 0 wind days. And all the windmills are direct to grid. So there's no storage capacity for that power coming out of it. So what are we getting out of it? The solar is, like I was saying earlier, 3.8%. So we have to be able to use our natural gas and our nuclear, our coal, as long as it's clean, right? Something's got to happen, okay? So SB3, they made new regulations preventing lengthy blackouts, okay? They issued fines to utilities that are not prepared for severe weather. Okay, that is real good, whether it be summer or even winter or during hurricanes, massive rains, severe drought. Because one bad thing that can happen in severe drought is if you have a transmission line that fractures, it hits the ground, and there's current going through it, it can start a wildfire. Everything has got to be weatherized. It has to be weatherized. It's going to take an investment. Some people will see increased power bills because of it, but you have to take care of your resources. Okay. Create a statewide power outage alert system so that utilities can quickly react to outages. That's awesome. Okay, that should have been a long time ago. The Public Utility Commission, now you have to be, that's appointed by the governor also. You have to be a resident of the state of Texas to be a member of that. Let's see, next bill, SB2, more targetization of ERCOT reform. And what SB number 2 means, and it was signed on the 8th of June. Established residential requirements for board members. Requires members to have expertise in the industry. They can't just be political appointees. Prohibits those with fiduciary standing in the electric market from participating. That's like a developer being on a P&Z or on a water board. Okay, you cannot be a member of Encore and be part of ERCOT. That is a good way to prevent a conflict of interest. And then it creates a board member selection committee for representation appointed by the governor and the legislature. Good stuff. Next, the four remaining bills were House Bill 16. It protects consumers from sky-high electric bills by banning the sale of wholesale index products to residential consumers, which can leave them vulnerable in extreme fluctuations. What it is stabilizing the price of electrical. Okay, so it can't go up too high or drop down too low. It can incrementally go up or it can incrementally go down, but it can't be a high increase like an inflationary or hyperinflationary. HB 17, that was signed on 18th of May. Ensures homeowners, builders, and businesses to have the ability to decide how best to meet their energy needs by preserving consumer choice and accessing the energy sources in Texas. Greater access to your power requirements. 1st of June, HB 1510 provides the funding mechanism necessary to ensure winterization of Texas power grids. So we put our money where our mouth is, and all these shared transmission sources and stuff, Texas put forth money to help them get these transmission systems, substations all winterized. If you didn't know it, you blow a they don't have like a warehouse full of transformers. They build them one for one. So when one blows, they build another because they're so expensive and so hard. Matter of fact, they're ceramic. Okay. And then the other one, 1520, provides securitization financing for gas utilities recover. That wasn't signed. Okay. And then, so how that works is HB3, I'm going to read this. It's designed to prevent dangerous, life-threatening problems due to lack of service, and it requires utilities to provide information to customers about how it might conduct involuntary load shedding. Keep us informed before it happens, not while it's happening, or like 30 seconds before. Oh, the lights are going out. It designates certain natural gas facilities as critical during emergency. They will not fail. They'll be like priority one if a natural gas plant goes down, because that's where we get most of our, remember, 51%, right? And then we established the Texas Energy Reliability Council. This is broad scope on focus on protecting critical infrastructure with emphasis on high priority demand. Okay, so hopefully this is the start of something big, okay, for the reformation of our power system. But you just got to realize we have a great influx. If you're looking at number of people coming to Texas, if we just did it 360,000 people a year, that's 3.6 million people in 10 years. And you got to supply power to them. And now you got to also remember that the Democrats want to increase electric cars and electric this and electric that without expanding the power grid system, thinking that we can rely on wind and solar, and it's not effective. It's been proven it's not effective. So unless you build your grid with power generation, you'll never keep up with the load that's going to break. And I, for one, would not want to live with rolling brownouts and blackouts in my home, because I'm a Texan. I love my freedom. I pay for this electric, and I want it to survive. I want it to be reliable. And I'm sure every single person out here, whether it be in Texas or New York or California, Michigan, Nevada, whatever, they want good, stable electric power. But the more electric devices we put on the grid, it's going to strain it. And the only way to overcome that is get power, reliable power that's effective and supplies the demands of Americans. Okay, that's my podcast. This is not a very long one. I just wanted to go over ERCOT. It's got a bad name after what we went through in February. those people deserve. I think the whole board of directors ended up resigning after everything was fixed temporarily, and that's a good thing, especially with the three members that weren't even residents of Texas. One of them was a Canadian. Why? I'm glad they're gone. Texans support Texans, and we should be there for each other. And you know, I gotta say it again. You gotta have coal. You gotta have nuclear. And until you get a reliable battery system to store energy from the windmills, they're not going to be effective. I have no earthly idea why we generate a quarter of our power from windmills, and when the wind doesn't blow, you don't get wind, so it drops off. And they don't always run all at the same time, so you have downtimes. So if you have some that are down and then the wind don't blow, you're still not generating any energy. We need to make this more reliable. And hopefully this will help the people of Texas. And we need to stay independent of the United States on this too. We've done this since end of World War II. Why not keep it going? We're Texans. We take care of each other. Okay? And let's keep Washington off our backs and let us live freely the way we're supposed to live. All right? So if you have any questions, go back to the comments and leave me a comment, and we'll go from there. Okay, this is James Pierce with the JP8 Report. See y'all on the flip side.